Let's talk debate prep. And I just have to talk about this lead counsel. I would assume Team Trump is taking maybe legal action. How can you have the attorney that's repping Google, this big giant that's being looked into by the government that she's helping to prep their main candidate for in a debate? That doesn't sound legal. Not that they care about legalities with this regime. But are you guys looking into this?
Well, Dan, you have to also remember, what did we see just this last week? Mark Zuckerberg came out and said, yes, we stifled conservatives from talking about COVID and the negative impacts about it. So are we surprised that the Google individual is sitting here and prepping Kamala Harris? Of course we're not. There is a revolving door between big tech and the Biden-Harris Walz administration that continues to function. There's no reports on all of these consultants who work for big tech, whether it's Meta or Facebook or Google, who are now part of this administration or part of the debate team. Of course, there's no due diligence on that. But if it comes to the Trump campaign, they want to dig into every single component of your life.
Well, and speaking of dirty tactics, this was one over the weekend that really got folks mad. And I used to work and live in Philly about 25 years ago. And I remember Eagles fans. One thing you don't want to do is upset Philadelphia Eagles fans. And take a look at these images. I guess somehow Team Harris accidentally, wink, wink, air quotes, used her image and Eagles uniform and made it look like the team was endorsing Kamala's campaign. Now they put out a statement going, oh no, we are not endorsing. And I haven't heard anything from Team Harris as far as an official apology. I mean, are we going to continue to see these desperate attempts to make Miss Comrade Harris seem relatable and for the people? Because they know they can't if they run on a record.
Well, of course we are. And every person who works in that organization, whether it's the owners to the players to the people who help on the sidelines, know that if she was elected, their lives would be worse from an economic perspective, from a safety and security perspective, from a national security perspective. So, of course, they're walking away from her because they understand what her draconian policies will do to the American people. And listen, look, hey, I'm a football fan. Sometimes I've got some issues with these guys over the years, but politics probably doesn't have a place in football anyways. And her to try and pretend that they're endorsing her is a total scam, which is what her campaign has been from the beginning.
You have the Biden-Harris regime and the Harris ticket now trying to attack President Trump for visiting Arlington with almost all 13, there was several of them, not all of them, but many of the Gold Star families at their request, and who has never shown up in 3 years, who's never made an apology, who's never uttered the 13 service members' words, is Miss Harris and Mr. Biden. And so I think an apology is due to those 13 families and to President Trump for the attacks from the mainstream media and from Team Harris, because they followed protocol. There was, to my knowledge, and you fill us in, Corey, there was no fights or skirmishes between Team Trump and Arlington officials like the media's been lying about, and he was invited. And the pictures and video were done tastefully at the request of the families. And I'm about to have one of those family members on here in a little bit after you. But I wanted to get your take from the campaign and all these lies that have been told now for the last week.
Dan, I was at that event. It was incredibly solemn, incredibly impactful. You know, the president laid 3 wreaths. They had placed 3 wreaths by the tomb of the unknown soldier with the family members. And then we went over to visit the grave sites of 2 of the fallen soldiers from the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal with their family members. And they were so grateful that President Trump came to respect and pay respects for those loved ones who Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have never acknowledged publicly, have never called, have never even paid gratitude towards. And instead, what are we talking about? Not the fact that Kamala Harris didn't even attend or put out a statement that Joe Biden was on the beach that day. They're trying to make this an issue that Donald Trump did something wrong. Look, the cameras were there just as they have been there when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been at Arlington National. They were there because the family members requested President Trump to be there. It was incredibly solemn. It was incredibly moving. And those family members who lost loved ones, those Gold Star members, deserve the remembrance of their family members that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris never gave them. They asked Donald Trump to come. And 8 family members of 8 of the 13 soldiers have put out videos calling on her to stop making this a political event because she has no understanding of what it's like to lose a loved one for this great country.